If you fly over Columbia County, Pennsylvania today, you'll find dense, quiet forests. But look closely, and you'll see a perfectly straight, abandoned highway cutting right through the trees, slowly being buried under mounds of dirt and overgrowth. Just a few decades ago, this exact spot was Centralia, a thriving community of over 1,000 residents, complete with packed streets, busy storefronts, and a tight-knit neighborhood. Today, almost every structure has been demolished. If you walk the surviving grid, you'll find cracked sidewalks and paved driveways that lead absolutely nowhere, serving as lonely markers for the houses that used to sit there. Centralia illustrates a press disturbance. A press disturbance is a continuous, long-term environmental stressor, often human-caused, that destroys an ecosystem or community in slow motion. A subterranean inferno drives this erasure, burning so deep and so fiercely that the federal government was forced to revoke the town's zip code entirely. The question is how a routine trash fire escalated into an inextinguishable subterranean disaster capable of consuming an entire American town. Centralia was incorporated in 1866 for one specific reason: geometry. The town sat directly above the Buck Mountain vein, a massive deposit of anthracite coal. Anthracite is a hard, compact variety of coal that has the highest carbon content and burns hotter than any other type. For decades, the town built its economic foundation by systematically hollowing out the earth directly beneath its own homes and streets, creating a sprawling, multi-level maze of mine shafts. That system worked until the Wall Street crash of 1929. The resulting economic collapse forced the major coal companies, like the Lehigh Valley Coal Company, to close their operations and abandon the Centralia mines entirely. Left without income, desperate residents turned to bootleg mining. Unemployed miners illegally re-entered the abandoned shafts, using whatever makeshift tools and animals they could find to extract leftover coal just to survive the Depression. To get that coal, they employed a highly dangerous technique known as pillar robbing. During the original commercial excavations, companies intentionally left thick columns of solid coal intact to hold up the heavy mine roofs. The bootleggers chipped those critical supports away. Without those pillars bearing the weight of the town, the structural integrity of the entire underground network failed. The tunnel roofs caved in, bringing down thousands of tons of rock and severely fracturing the surrounding earth. These collapses didn't seal the mines. Instead, they created a highly porous, oxygen-rich labyrinth. The broken rock and chaotic empty voids allowed air to draft freely from the surface down deep into the earth. By trying to scrape together a living during the Great Depression, the residents of Centralia unknowingly constructed a massive, fully ventilated underground furnace. All it needed was a spark. That spark arrived in May 1962. Volunteer firefighters were conducting a routine burn of the town dump, which had been set up inside an abandoned strip mine pit. The trash fire inadvertently ignited an exposed ribbon of coal. The flames crept through a hidden opening at the base of the pit and slipped directly into the oxygen-rich labyrinth left behind by the pillar robbing. Fueled by abundant air and massive, untouched coal deposits, it began to spread rapidly beneath the surface. For over a decade, the fire remained a largely invisible menace. Life in Centralia carried on above ground, while a few scattered government efforts failed to dig out or drown the subterranean smoldering. The true scale of the danger finally breached the surface in 1979. A local gas station owner lowered a dipstick to check his underground fuel tanks and discovered the gasoline was simmering at nearly 140 degrees Fahrenheit, over 80 degrees hotter than normal. In 1981, the threat turned physical. A 12-year-old boy was playing in a residential backyard when the earth suddenly gave way, revealing a 150-foot sinkhole venting lethal heat and gas. Soon, the physical symptoms of the fire were impossible to ignore. Lethal levels of carbon monoxide seeped into basements, and literal steam began venting out of deep, hot cracks in the town's asphalt. Engineers were brought in to assess the damage, including Robert J. Brennan, who delivered a grim mathematical reality. Because the fractured rock was so porous, the only way to reliably extinguish the fire was a total excavation of the earth. Adjusted for today, the price tag would be over $844 million. Accepting the impossible cost of excavation, Congress allocated $42 million to buy out the remaining properties and relocate the residents. The labyrinth beneath the town was simply too fractured, too hot, and too vast to conquer. The sheer physical and financial impossibility of the task forced the decision to simply surrender an American town back to nature. Over the following decades, Centralia was systematically dismantled. The state used eminent domain to seize the remaining homes. By 2012, only 10 holdout residents remained, granted permission to live out their final days in isolated pockets of the empty grid. As the houses vanished, an abandoned 3/4-mile stretch of Route 61 took on a bizarre afterlife. Severe fire damage and buckling had forced the state to reroute the main road in 1994. The ruined asphalt was soon covered end-to-end in spray paint, becoming known as the Graffiti Highway. Despite the danger, this fractured road became a massive, unintended tourist attraction. It pulled in thousands of urban explorers, ATV riders, and vandals, wanting to walk across a literal highway to hell. The conflict reached a breaking point in April 2020. Exhausted by the constant trespassing and liability, the private owners of the land brought in 150 truckloads of dirt to permanently bury the highway and shut the attraction down for good. But hiding the scars on the surface does nothing to stop the heat below. Geologists estimate that the Centralia mine fire has enough unburned anthracite coal left to continue raging for another 250 years. Long after the final resident leaves, and long after the last paved road is fully swallowed by the silent forest, the deep earth beneath Centralia will still be burning, quietly consuming the very industry that originally built it.